Hi. In today's podcast, I want to share a little bit about what has gone on with me, what's going on with this podcast, the work I'm doing, and just let you know what's coming up. So I'm really excited to be reinvigorating the podcast, and it's sort of an emblem, I would say, of or emblematic of what's gone on with me over the past year or so with all of the changes with COVID. Now, I know a lot of you have experienced some pretty dramatic changes as well. And I know that many of us have had really tough years. And then there's a whole slew of other people who seem to have really taken the opportunity to transform in a way that has really helped up-level certain areas of their life that needed to change. So, and then of course, there's people that have a mix of all of that. So I wanted to share just a little bit about what happened with me. Many of you know me through Boston Men's Group or through Boston Businesswoman, a couple of the businesses I've had in the past. Before that, I had a marketing company, Marketing Superheroes. And before that, I was at Naropa studying somatic psychology. And I went out there to do dance therapy and stuff. And I was teaching yoga full time. So I've had quite a few different careers, and if I look back, the main sort of underpinning or arc of it all would be I was always really into healing. I've always personally been doing healing on myself. And then the other piece is definitely entrepreneurship in media. My marketing company was a blast. We started out doing video, and I worked with a lot of healing arts companies and individuals, entrepreneurs who are looking to get their message out there. And so I'm really excited because now I feel like it's sort of bringing together all of the gifts that I have into sort of one package and one offering. So I'm providing now healing and coaching. So I would call what I do like an integrative therapies. And I want to share a little bit about what those are because I get asked all the time, and the work I'm doing is fairly progressive. So I think it's probably going to take a few times of me like explaining different aspects, and I'm still learning a lot too. So there's that as well. But the work I'm doing lends itself to sort of an openness that I think I have. And I've done so much work myself that I'm ready to do this. And I've been doing it, and I'm having amazing results with people. I can't guarantee that everyone that comes to me will experience miraculous transformation, but a lot of people who have come to me have. And I think the main philosophy of the work that I do, and what my philosophy that I had coming into this work was that we are designed to heal, and we are designed to be able to sort of integrate everything that's happened to us. And as someone who's experienced trauma and, sort of lived through it, I think I'm a pretty high functioning person who has anxiety, and I was diagnosed with PTSD as well. And I think I'm pretty high functioning, and I've had to do a lot of work, and I do a lot of different things to stay tuned, and I'm definitely not perfect, but I don't want to you can't be perfect because then you make other people feel bad. You know what I mean? I want to be like, let me not be totally perfect so that everyone else can feel good. No, I'm just kidding. So I wanted to share a little bit. So last year, some of you know this because I've been telling this story a bit now, but I have to tell this story because it was so profound. It was a profound shift in my world. So I was doing behavioral science and doing public talks in corporations, right? I would go in and use this behavioral science software, Predictive Index, and give talks and trainings and things like this. And I did some executive coaching, career development, things like this. And then I had the men's group where I was working on topics like inclusion and diversity, being an ally toward women, being a humble giant, which is still content that I have when I work with my coaching clients when they need that. So it's really fantastic that I have that to offer people, but there was no way I was going to keep doing that. So I was bopping along, COVID hit, And I was stunned like all of us. And I kind of I just couldn't keep going. I wasn't interested any longer in doing corporate work in that way. And what I did was, something sort of happened, that just stopped me in my tracks. Two people, two close family friends passed away just a couple weeks, between each other. And both of them had asked to see me numerous times. And one of them I had planned to see and was supposed to go to the hospital. Then COVID hit. I was like, let's do a video. They were like, the whole family's here today. Like, we'll do the video tomorrow. But 2 days later, the woman passed. And then another, family friend I knew since I was a little girl asked to see me a couple times. And I had an idea of what was going on. And I just didn't feel as though I had adequate tools to help this person. I was like, okay, so I mean, I'm like a yoga teacher and I do executive leadership work, career development, and some emotional intelligence stuff. But I was like, I don't know how I'm going to help this person. So I just sort of didn't meet them. And sure enough, they passed away. So I was floored. I was rocked to the core, as you can imagine. And I just said, oh my goodness, this is it. Like, I have to learn a healing modality. So I had taken the first level access training of Body Talk back in 2009 in Denver. And yeah, so with Elza, some of you might know Elza from Colorado. She's an outspoken, really brilliant woman who works in the community to help with healing. And I think she's had a couple different healing centers now, and she's been all over the radio, and she does really great work. So I think she lives off grid as well, like in Denver and stuff. Really cool healer. So anyways, I just took the next level training in Body Talk, and I've been practicing it on other people, working with people right away. I didn't hesitate. Like, if people need help, I'm helping them. So a couple of the examples, someone came to me, he had lost a lot of weight, and yeah, we stabilized him. They couldn't figure out what it was. I don't know, with people with anger issues that just one session and it went away. Amazing things are happening in these sessions. And basically what happens with Body Talk is, what we're able to do is create more communication within the body's intuition. So I'm using biofeedback, which if you know me or have hung out with me like after high school, you'll know that I've been doing biofeedback and Body Talk. I'm sorry, biofeedback, kinesiology, and body testing since I was like 18 or something. And so I'm pretty keen on that. Like, that's something I just have in the bag. And so I'm using that to listen to your body's messages. And we go through a series of questions. I'm going through the questions, you're lying there receiving the work. And then I'm building a formula around what your body's next priority that it wants to work on is going to be. And it can be sometimes very abstract. It can be very biological. We go down to the nucleus within the cell. We're working with the physiology of the endocrine system. The body will say, nope, it has to do with emotions. There is, we want to sort of think about re-establishing communication between the thyroid oriented to the emotion of anger at 4:00 in the afternoon, linking to the pancreas. I know, it's just like this, really, like, stuff like this will come up, and then we tap it out. I tap your head, your heart, and your navel center. And it's understood now that once the brain is on board with healing happens of its own accord. And what's really nifty about this work is that it's not coming from me as the facilitator. I'm not diagnosing, oh, okay, you have this issue and I have this tool. So that no matter what it is that you're dealing with, you come in and I'm providing a tool, right? Like Reiki or hypnosis, which, I like hypnosis a lot. I don't know, Reiki, I'm a little, but this is different than Reiki. This is your body's own ability to heal itself. There is no channel that it comes through. So, the propensity and the depth of the healer affects your ability to go. Same with Body Talk with knowledge, right? But the energy that your body has to heal, there's no bound on it in Body Talk. Whereas in Reiki, you can think of a channel like a television network or something. It comes through the antenna, and that Reiki practitioner may or may not be a clean channel. I don't know if you've ever had bad body work. I have. I will never have that again. Like I'm so picky about who works on me and my energy. This is different. This is your body's healing itself because it's seeing a line of communication that's been broken. In other words, something happens. You get in a car accident. Your husband says something terrible to you. It really hurts you. Maybe your digestive system got bumped in that moment. Okay. So the way you can think about the body's synchronicity of different things that are happening, right? It's a miracle what happens in the body in a given split second. All of the different chemicals that are being released, everything that's happening, that's automatic without your knowing. So all of these different things, you can think of it as like an orchestra. And you walk in early to the opera or something, right? And they're practicing. They're not ready yet. It sounds chaotic. You've got strings, you've got percussion, you've got the violin is over here. She's doing her own thing. You're like, oh my God, this is chaos, because everyone is moving on their own rhythm and they're not listening to one another. The body is the same way. Once we bring in this orchestrated, everyone's reading the same score of music, it becomes this beautiful presentation. And that is a balanced system. And I like to think of it all as mind, body, spirit, because we bring all of those components in. And the underlying modality pulls from a very complex, we use EMDR, we use traditional Chinese medicine, the meridians. It's not going to be as in depth as if you went to go see an acupuncturist. It's more that we take the meridians and we just balance the body to them. Okay. And we bring the brain, the heart, and then the navel to integrate the information on board with the communication that needs to be reestablished. And just one more thing on this, because I think it's so cool. So if you know anything about homeopathy, right? My mom was a homeopath, or I guess she's probably still would consider herself a homeopath. But we grew up like, if anything was wrong, that's what we would take, because, we wouldn't go to the doctors, we'd take, homeopathy or herbs and things like this, right? So yeah, you can think about Body Talk as a homeopathic dose. So it's very specific and it's very subtle. It's not you went to the chiropractor and got adjusted, which I do that. I do acupuncture. I do all of these things as well, because I have a physical body that's like more dense as well as my subtle energy. But we're working at a subatomic level. And that might sound sort of foreign and abstract, like, well, what does that mean, right? So homeopathy is at a molecular level. You have the smallest amount of a substance affects the entire system, and it affects every single cell. And this is proven time and time again. It's not, some abstract notion. It's very scientifically grounded. And so working at a level beneath that even is what Body Talk does. So it's a subatomic balancing of your energy. So your consciousness has the power to shift what's happening if it's done correctly. And so the Body Talk model just simply takes that and uses it by listening to what the body actually needs, because the body will ask you for what it needs. And then boom, we bring it into awareness. I bring it into the awareness, and then I tap it out on you. So I hope that explains it. I just did another video recently where I explain it from a different angle, but that's kind of what goes on with that. And then, so then I'm also training at PSI, which is the Psychedelic Somatic Institute. And I want to share a little bit about this because I want to sort of be preemptive and let you know what's coming up as well. Because this is it's very heavy duty stuff. Like, the work I'm doing with pranic, I also do some pranic energy. I practice a little shamanism, which I pepper that into the sessions. It's the same work that I received since I was, 6, 7 years old. I was seeing a shaman that's no longer seeing clients in Boston, but I do the same thing that he did on me. It's just like, it was like, I had to do that. When I started doing this work, I'm like, I have to do this. I know that this is how I start a session. And then I'm working with another shaman now to learn some other stuff that I'll probably be delivering like next year. But I'm learning right now Psi. So, excuse me. So the program is PSIP, which stands for Psychedelic Somatic Interactional Psychotherapy. So what we're doing is tracking the autonomic nervous system to release trauma. And the trauma can be anything like an event that is stuck with you and you can't shake. You're just like, oh, every time I think of this, I'm like, oh, it just upsets me and I can't stop thinking about it, right? This would be an event. It could also be more complex, like repeated abuse when you were a child. This work is really fantastic for people that are coming back from war with PTSD, things like that. So how it works is that the autonomic nervous system has a natural mammalian response to stress. Every mammal has it. And what we're doing as humans is really metering how we behave, right? So it's called the default mode network. And what we do is we behave in a way that works with modern society, right? But if we were to sort of break through that piece, and that's where the psychedelics I'm using cannabis. So it's not heavy duty. And yes, cannabis can be a psychedelic. It's a very, very small dose. I do not provide the medicine. That is, you get it on your own through your provider or, wherever you get that. What's it called? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the place. The dispensary. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't go very often to a dispensary. So basically what happens is we're going to slow down the default mode network where you're reasoning, you're deducing what to do, you're behaving like a normal adult. And we're going to go into what the more animalistic primary consciousness that stored and recorded all of that information. And a great example is a car accident, because if you've been in a car accident, you know how everything slows down. Everything slows way down, right? You're like, oh my God, that 15 seconds was like, I felt like, I saw every single thing happen, right? And that's when the nervous system takes over to save you, really. So the other example that you hear all the time in trauma work, it's almost, to me, it's becoming cliche. I'm like, oh my God, if anyone uses this example one more time, I'm so bored of it, but I'm going to use it because I feel as though it's perhaps something you're not sick of it yet, right? I just am. Excuse me. So if you were out in the wild and a large predatory animal came up and was hunting you and got you, right? There is different levels of stress that happen, right? You might have seen the animal. You're like, okay, I'm on high alert right now. Same as walking down a dark street at night. You're like, okay, high alert. You can hear everything. You're like, okay, there's a tiger in the grass over there, right? So then the tiger starts coming at you, chasing you. Now you launch. You are in a higher stress state. You're running, you're moving. Okay, now there's an attack. So the person in the, maybe there's somebody following you in a dark alley. Now they've accosted, they've hit you, or they're grabbing your pocketbook, or the animal has actually latched onto you, God forbid. At that moment, you get an endogenous rush of opioids. Your body puts you into a disassociative state. So what that does for us is it protects us, because you might be able to get away. There's still hope to get away. So the work of Peter Levine and the body keeps the score really talks about this as like, you can get up and you can shake. You see the animals do this, they shake. But prior to that, they look dead. And that is when this sort of coping mechanism takes over, where you feel nothing. Now, how I see this in modern times is very different, because I just had a traumatic experience last week. And within not even a minute, I was able to make the right decision, take the right action, get everyone where they needed to be. I took over. Like, I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. Da, 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 da. Later, I could not get what had happened, what I saw, the violence I saw. out of my head. It would just come back up and I would be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that happened. I'm obviously traumatized from this. But oddly, when it happened, I didn't go into, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. What's going on? I went into, let's make sure we take the right actions and do the right things and help other people be calm, right? Which is often what we do to cope. But the nervous system the autonomic nervous system, it's called selective inhibition. So what we're working with, and you can do this with no medicine, is we elongate and we sort of invite in the autonomic nervous system to reenact what happened. So it doesn't, it's not like a walk in the park. It's not talk therapy. Right. There's all this research, which I'll share some of it. Oh, I actually, do I have some of that right there? The research is pretty astounding as far as the results of talk therapy with trauma. Basically, I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm going to say, right? It's not the best way to rid your body of trauma. And trauma lives in the nervous system. And if you know this, so I'm a trauma survivor. I've done a lot of healing, and I'm like, my nervous system, I knew it. I was like, my nervous system is the next piece of my healing. And sure enough, I ended up doing this work. So I go through the work myself. And it is pretty destabilizing to sort of face what has gone on. But the outcome at the end of this work is that you have your neutrality is more holistic. You actually get to a neutral state more often. Like today I was in the shower, my eyes were closed, and the thing that my products are all on, I don't know what the heck you call it, it's sitting there with everything. Sometimes it just comes down and scares the living bejesus out of me. I'm like, ah! I didn't jump today. Like I was like, oh yeah, whatever, that stupid thing. And I noticed after, I was like, that's really cool. That usually scares the crap out of me when my eyes are closed, but didn't today. So my neutral is less reactive. And it's only been 3 weeks I've been doing this work. So another outcome is like, if you have complex trauma or PTSD, you might see a psychotherapist for 3 to 5 years. And this is the type of thing that it's all very, there's ranges, because everyone is individual and their healing path is going to be unique and different. But ideally, this work is like 15 to 18 sessions if you have that level of depth of trauma. So it's a different type of work that you're not going to see really anywhere else that we do. It's not like, it's not transpersonal. You're not going into a heightened spiritual state where you're like, where you think of psychedelic work, where, the John Hopkins and MAPS work, where you'll see a lot of this like, work that's kind of transcendent, and you're rising above everything. There is no rising above, and you are an animal. You have biology, you have chemistry, and you ain't getting away from it. Like, you really need to integrate the trauma that you have. And this is definitely the most progressive stuff that I've seen. And I'm really excited to be delivering it, but I'm also very, I just feel really honored and cautious too, because it's such sacred work. Everyone's trauma story is their most sacred. It is their most sacred thing. And we need to tread into this world very lightly and with a lot of care. The other thing that we're seeing, two big shifts, and then the rest of the stuff I'll save, because like I could literally talk for 4 hours about this, is that we know that those who have experienced trauma have a higher likelihood of disease, which is just really wild. And then if you have any socioeconomic challenges, it's even much worse, right? And that's within the ACE study that you can look up and read about. So, for someone like me, like, my dad died really young of cancer, and he lived really hard. And I think that there was a lot of trauma that he never faced. And I'm just really excited to see if there's a way for me in my life to be able to not die at 62. Will I live to 100 because I'm doing this work? Or will I get some, diagnosis and, so we'll see. And then the other thing you're going to keep hearing about, and it keeps trending, is that, anxiety, depression, PTSD, they're now realizing these are not chemical imbalances. These are natural responses to trauma. So the path to heal them is very, I'm not against, prescription medicine, especially if things are volatile. But the long-term use of pharmacopoeia, the pharmacopoeia of stuff, or I don't know, pharmacology, whatever it is, whatever you call it, it's not getting to the root cause, right? It's the effect, and it's the exact opposite of going into it and curing it like homeopathy does, right? Where like cures like. So this follows directly in the line with like cures like, just like the body talk, where you're going to go in and your nervous system reenacts what happened, and you clear the charge, right? So I'm sure like 6 months, a year from now, I'll be explaining this in a different way because I'll be in a different space with it. But I hope I look back and I say, at least I correctly explained it. I hope, okay? So I might, it's very new for me, the language, but I believe that I understand it. So I'm feeling that I can be confident with you. And if you're interested in trying, I'm not taking any clients for the next 6 weeks. So I'm on a wait list for that. If you're interested either in medicine or no medicine. And then I wanted to just read a little bit here. Okay, so the last 2015 meta-analysis conducted by the FDA looked at 23,000 patients in 92 different clinical trials on file. These findings are valid for antidepressants across the board. SSRIs, if I can say this, let's see. Tricyclics, how'd that go? SNRIs and other type of antidepressants such as NDRIs. The results apply also to other classes of drugs such as benzos that are used for depression. Meaning difference, patient's chest, okay. So let's see, Zoloft and Paxil, Pfizer submitted the results, okay. Okay, of these successful trials, 80% of the effectiveness of Zoloft could be recreated with a sugar pill, which translates to just a 6-point difference between placebo and Zoloft on CAPS-2, a 360-point PTSD scale. Simply improving sleep will yield a larger drop in scores on that same test. Similar to Kirsch's findings with antidepressants, the researchers in the Zoloft PTSD trials found no difference between Zoloft and placebo when it came to the drug's effect on improving the depressive symptoms of PTSD. This research, however, does not mean these medications have no effect. It just means their intended influence is not due to their biochemistry or active ingredients, but rather to a placebo response. Consciousness. In other words, the response that we see, I added consciousness too, I should quote that. In other words, the response that we see with antidepressants is the same response we would see if these medications were simply sugar pills. However, these drugs do carry side effects that the sugar pills do not: weight gain, sexual dysfunction, insomnia, diarrhea, nausea, on and on and on, just to name a few. Okay, so we're not saying don't take stuff when you need it. I would say if you need it, take it. But don't, I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving you any information you actually can't get somewhere else, right? But the reality is, who wants to stay on an antidepressant for 6 years, for 15 years? Like, get to the root of the problem and find a solution, right? So, okay, so you get it. So the thing that I found really interesting was that the people who did not take the drug for depression found their own coping mechanisms, and through the course of the year recovered from the depression on their own, versus the people that ended up staying on the depression meds ended up having more relapses and staying on the drug. So what happened ultimately is, or how I would deduce that study, is that the use of, and the consistent use of the depression meds for a long period of time showed more indicators that the person then stays in a slightly depressive state. So they had more incidents of depression while on the medication, versus the people that struggled through that 3-month time period, joined a club, a fitness club, started doing Tai Chi in the mornings, or joined a social club where you read books. You did something to change what's happening. That is also going to change the chemistry in the body, right? And we know that. But sometimes we need help. We need some leverage. Was there one other thing? I'll just have to kind of bring this together again for you, because I wasn't planning on sharing that. So, okay, awesome. So I think that's it. I mean, I don't know if I should tell you anything else. I'll just keep doing these podcasts, and I hope you love them and tune in again and again. Thanks so much. And please subscribe to the channel. And if you found this interesting, or you think it'll help someone, please share it with them. And if you want more information on me, my work, my past, what has kind of led me here, you can check me out at meganmarini.com. And I'm offering a free 30-minute consultation if you want to ask me questions about what my what working with me is like. And I'll give you the quick rundown here as well. So I do just straight sessions. So if you want to do a body talk session, you can just come in and get a session. I do them virtually, and I have an office. And then if you want to do my coaching, which is called Amma Human coaching, I haven't formally launched it into the world. I'm probably going to launch it like in 4 or 5 weeks. That is, I'm enrolling clients. I have clients for that. And that adds this other layer. So it adds the accountability. We're meeting bi-weekly, we're talking weekly, and we look at things like, I do a hair analysis. So we look at the biology, we'll be looking at your trauma, but also working with vision and where you want to go, right? So this pulls from 20 years of me building businesses. Like I started my yoga business 20 years ago. So developing teams, if you have a team, that always comes in, like who you're working with, how to motivate them, how to find the right talent, as well as the leadership work. So if you're struggling with showing up as your best self, anger issues, I have a huge piece on habit change. So all of these pieces kind of come together into a year-long program where I work with a full transformation on what it is you want to change. So I don't work with everyone, and I work with high performers who have something that they're struggling with changing, and they're ready to transform now. So I think that that has looked fairly different with every client I've worked on. There's no consistent thread except those two things. They're typically high performers, and they have something they're struggling to change within themselves that a lot of them have never told anyone else, or have never worked with anyone, or they worked with their therapist for years and things have just plateaued. They're not seeing a change. There's no change in behavior. So that's what we want to get to. We know if we want things to change in the world, we have to change our behavior. And finding someone who you can trust to help you build the life you want and see your blind spots is a really important piece, because you do not have eyes all the way around your head. You need someone to help you see your blind spots. We all do. And my belief is that we always need to be on a path of healing and transformation if we are to reach our highest self, whether that is in business, in life, in relationship. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you now. I feel like I've been talking for a while. All right, much love, you guys.